Hello and welcome everyone to another episode of the Manufacturing Culture Podcast, the place where we pull back the curtain on the movers and shakers of the manufacturing industry. I'm your host, Jim Mayer, and folks, today you're going to want to buckle up for a turbocharged ride because we have a duo that represents the perfect synergy between ingenuity and imagination, between industry and artistry, a power team that takes innovation to the next level. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for the father-daughter dynamo, Al and Abby Youngwerth. Now, let's start with Al. He's a man who has never met a problem he couldn't code, build, or innovate his way out of. With a rich career spanning over 35 years, Al has been instrumental in creating disruptive, high-value products which make a monumental difference in our lives. After making a successful exit from his first endeavor, Apex Technology, Al shifted gears and brought us Recluse Motorsports, revolutionizing the world of high-performance motorcycles. If you thought that was impressive, hold on to your hats because Al didn't stop there. With VersaBuilt, he challenged the status quo and is paving the way toward a new future in automation. When he's not reshaping the world of technology, you'll find Al pushing limits, whether it's on two wheels, in the air, or on the racetrack. And speaking of pushing limits, enter Abby, a whirling dynamo in her own right. An accomplished professional cyclist, Abby didn't just break records on the tracks, but went a step further, flexing her creative muscles at the Savannah College of Art and Design. Starting as an intern at VersaBuilt, Abby has pedaled her way to become a vital cog in their marketing machine. Her unique blend of creativity, athleticism, and business savvy helps VersaBuilt communicate with its audience on a whole new level. When she's not busy charting out impactful marketing campaigns, Abby explores the great outdoors and finds new artistic inspirations. Together, Al and Abby form a power duo like no other. Their blend of seasoned expertise and youthful innovation is not only redefining the future of manufacturing, but also inspiring the industry as a whole. Ladies and gentlemen, let's shift into high gear and welcome our guests, Al and Abby Youngwerth. Al and Abby, thank you for being on today. Welcome to the Manufacturing Culture Podcast. How are you doing?
Great. And thanks for that introduction.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, I'm super pumped. You two, Abby specifically, reached out. You took the survey on the manufacturingculturepodcast.com website. We had a conversation and it was almost like it was meant to be. It was a great, very natural conversation. I love what you both have done. And Abby, originally, I think you wanted it just to be Al on here. But after our conversation, I couldn't let you not be a guest as well. So thank you for joining us as well today.
Of course. Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. So before we jump into our typical first question, talk to us guys about VersaBuilt. What is VersaBuilt? What do you do? How many employees do you have? Give us a rundown.
Yeah, so VersaBuilt is coming up on 10 years of age. And we have 11 employees.
Awesome.
And we do automation for high mix CNC manufacturing. We take a different approach than how robotics has typically been applied to CNC manufacturing. Mm-hmm. Robotics has typically been targeted towards improving the efficiency of the machine and focused on high volume applications.
Right.
But most manufacturing in the United States is not high volume, it's high mix.
Yeah.
And my company, Recluse Motorsports, was a very high mix manufacturing company. And when we decided that automation was the next big step that we wanted to take to improve our operations, we found that there really wasn't anything out there for high mix. So we decided to try and do it on our own. And after kind of fumbling around, kind of in fits and spurts using traditional technologies, one day we finally made a breakthrough with a new idea that's become multi-grip, which is a milling CNC work holding robotic automation kind of combination that really makes it much easier to integrate new parts for automation into CNC mills and to change over between jobs.
Got it.
Different parts. That's really what VersaBuilt is about. We also do lathes now. We have some technology around that. We develop software technology as well to all bring us to kind of that everything we learned in the 2000s about lean manufacturing, bring that to automation.
Awesome. And not only are you building a culture internally at VersaBuilt, it sounds like your product can be instrumental in fostering cultures at your customers' facilities. Am I correct?
Absolutely. In fact, I would say that if you can't have a shift in culture around automation and around high mix automation, it's probably not going to go well for you if you do high mix production. Yeah. When I say high mix, what I really mean there is traditional automation is really targeted towards no mix or very, very limited mix.
Sure.
And so high mix to some is batches of 10 parts, and high mix to others might be batches of 1,000 parts. But that's kind of our sweet spot is kind of like batches of 5 parts, 10 parts, up to maybe 10,000 parts at a time. So, and one of the key things when you bring in automation and you're doing high mix is you got to apply those same principles that we learned in lean manufacturing to make high mix work. You got to bring those same things to automation, and that means standardizing on fixturing, focusing on making it easy for the operator to change between jobs and make it fast.
Yeah.
Which can be kind of opposed to some of the traditional automation objectives around maximizing the throughput of the system or maximizing the runtime of the system.
Yeah.
So
awesome.
Those cultural shifts are really important. It's a big part of how we sell and how we train.
That's phenomenal. And let's dive into that a little bit later. First, let's talk about the cultural journey that you've had at VersaBuilt. I mean, you're 10 years into this journey. Abby joined somewhere along the way. So Al, pre-Abby, pre-now, what was the culture like in the early stages of VersaBuilt as you started this different company from Recluse?
Yeah, so I'd say that the culture of VersaBuilt really dates back to my first job out of college.
Okay.
Here in Boise at a company called Extended Systems. And Extended Systems was a company that was formed from executives at Hewlett Packard. And so a lot of the culture that exists in VersaBuilt today is some of the core culture that came out of Hewlett Packard. And I would say at its core, what was kind of ingrained in us as young engineers was that if you make innovative products that provide value to your customers and you support them well, then they'll keep coming back to you and growing your business without spending a whole lot of money on marketing fluff.
Sure.
And so that culture of innovation, doing well, and listening to and taking care of the customer is something that has been a part of every business I've been involved in ever since. and is a big part of VersaBuilt's culture. And I'd say another phrase that I use a lot is, especially around the innovation side, is good enough is not good enough. We keep making things better, and that keeps people thinking. To constant improvement.
Yeah.
Not just in technology, but in how we do things.
Yeah.
And that's especially important when you're a product engineer. It really is all about the innovation. But when you're also making things, and the product engineers are tied to manufacturing, it's about more than that. It's about processes and helping make people successful.
Great. It sounds like a very intentional cultural journey that you're on.
It is.
I do think a lot of that before me was kind of in the background. Like, we weren't advertising our level of support.
Okay.
And now we very much are.
Yeah, and I think that goes back again to one of the things I said, that initial company I worked for was marketing. Spending money on marketing and doing marketing isn't all that important if you make really innovative products and you take care of your customers.
Sure.
And I would say that has been a personal weakness of mine that I've carried through over the years, because I'm just not very good about telling the world that my stuff is better, right? And I think Abby has helped a lot there in helping us get our message across, and not being ashamed of
building more of a brand rather than marketing our product. Like,
Yeah.
building a brand that tells people your success is our success.
Yep.
Sure.
In order for us to succeed, is you are making all of your parts in a timely manner with our systems, and you want to buy another one.
Yeah, that makes total sense. So, Abby, from your perspective, when you joined VersaBuilt as an intern and then as a full-time employee, what was the culture like from your perspective?
I mean, it's a great product. I think once it's been installed, people really understand that. But before they've gotten their hands on it, it's kind of a hard thing to explain to people.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been working on, I don't know, just like trying to get people to trust us.
Got it.
And
Trust
I think
the brand.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think so, some of that is because we do it differently than pretty much. I'm not saying everybody else. I would say that we were really kind of first in this space of selling automation as a standard product that was targeted at high mix. But now there's others, but it's still not the norm.
Sure.
The culture around robotics and automation is still customize everything.
Yeah.
And you're just not going to get very far customizing stuff. Like, right, we don't build very many custom CNCs anymore because we figured out building a standard CNC makes a lot more sense. So we're still kind of bucking that trend. And it's funny, it was quite similar with Recluse, because when we started in Recluse, we were selling a automatic clutch for high performance motorcycles. And it was the same kind of thing. Nobody else really was. And everyone was like, why would I need that?
Yeah.
And it's the same thing here. And so a big part of our success is helping people to understand why you might want something like this and how it benefits.
And
sure.
I think it's important to take another step back to the people who have it in their culture that automation takes jobs away.
Oh, yeah.
Our system, like it has been proven over and over and over to us that operators love the system. It's not taking away their job. It's making it a better job. It's giving them more value in their own company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And it improves their job. It makes it a lot easier for them to be successful. And they may start with skepticism, but mostly, not always, but mostly, it's the operators that like the equipment the most.
Yeah. It improves the employee experience. And when you improve the employee experience, you improve employee engagement with the organization as a whole. And when you improve that engagement level, you get discretionary effort, and people will tend to go that extra mile, quote unquote, for you, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So where do you want to get the culture to at VersaBuilt internally? Not necessarily externally, but internally. What are your plans to scale beyond the staff that you have, and what role will culture play in that?
Well, that's a great question, and we have kind of a long history that's been kind of ups and downs.
Mm-hmm.
We back in 2018, after growing the business quite a bit, we learned that it was too expensive for us to scale based around an industrial robot.
Interesting.
So we actually scaled the business back some. Basically, when there's a problem in the field, historically automation's been deployed through regional custom system integrators.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's a problem with the robot, someone flies out from the factory, fixes the robot, and then someone locally from that did the system integration comes in and puts it back together, puts the application back together.
Sure.
Well, we had a batch of robots that, we bought that all ended up going bad out in the field under warranty, but every time they went bad, we had to fly somebody out the next day. And it really hurt our momentum and slowed us down. And so we decided to get out of the business with the industrial robots and focus on the collaborative robots, because the end user would be better equipped to actually, if there's a warranty problem with the robot, to get it back into working order. So that created a shift for us. It was culturally, it was a setback to us, after growing a lot and having a lot of success, and then kind of getting slapped down. So we kind of hit a reset button culturally, and from the business, we ended up licensing that product to a company that was much better equipped to, because they had offices all over the country to manage that type of thing.
Sure.
And then kind of reinvented ourselves around this, a similar product based upon the learnings that we got, and with a collaborative robot. And it's really, just as we introduced that was, COVID came out. So that again provided a number of challenges for us.
Yeah.
So culturally, we've kind of been in this purgatory area for the last few years. And, we're a tight team. Most of this team has been together for 8-9 years now.
Wow.
Abby's the second newest employee, I think.
Yeah, I'm coming on 3 years.
Yep. So, so I think our, main challenges going forward with culture is to do the things that we have been doing, but learn how to market ourselves, not just to customers, but to the distribution channel, which tends to be mostly CNC dealers,
Mm-hmm.
and even the robot suppliers themselves, because the robot suppliers are still kind of built around this model that, hey, if we make a robot's easy to use and give a full catalog of accessories, any problem can be solved. Well,
Right.
Any one problem might be able to be solved, but if you buy a robot and it can only make one part, and then to make the next part it requires a 4-hour changeover, you're sending people backwards.
Yeah.
And so a lot of our culture has to shift around marketing, and getting the message out about why you should be choosing automation designed for high mix,
Mm-hmm.
Rather than trying to cobble together, little science projects to do things.
And part of our effort in kind of pushing that message is like having our employees, our machinists that have been in the job for decades, go onto forums like Reddit and Practical Machinist and just give tips.
Yeah.
Like build trust with our customers, and even not customers, just people in the field, and help bring an understanding that we know what we're doing. And
we can help them. Yeah.
Absolutely. You got to build that moat around your customer base, the end user customer base.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say the end users, but also the people that the end users go to as their trusted advisors, and that's generally going to be CNC machine dealers, but also influencers like yourself and others.
Oh, that's so wild, Al, that you say that. I was at an event last week, and for the first time in my professional career, somebody used that word influencer in referencing me, and it was the weirdest moment because I don't consider myself that at all. I'm just a guy who loves this industry and won't shut up about it, quite frankly, right? But thank you very much. And I think that's where marketing efforts has changed. And Abby, I think that you bring that different perspective, right? I mean, the first time we spoke, I think you had just gotten off the snowboard trails, right? When we had our video chat. So you're bringing a different viewpoint, perspective to VersaBuilt, it sounds like. Talk to us about that experience.
I mean, I honestly, coming in as an intern, I didn't know what we did at VersaBuilt for the first 4 months. I'd say.
Okay.
I've never been involved in robotics. I've always had my dad and my family really involved in it, and the manufacturing industry.
Yeah.
So it took me a while to learn and figure out this industry and the people that I need to be talking to. And I come from a background in athleticism. I've been racing professionally on teams for 10 years. So I think I brought kind of a need for teamwork and communication internally, which is something that I value a lot. And I don't know if my being here has made it better for VersaBuilt.
Yeah. I mean, we are just a bunch of engineers and this is the part of the culture that most needs to shift for us. Again, this goes back to me and how I was brought up in the industry and just being an engineer.
Sure.
We just want to make good things and expect people to buy them
and understand
them. And then I've hired a bunch of people that are like that too. And with Recluse, we still never really invested a lot in marketing. We just went to races and rode with people, and they got to try it out. So it was a lot easier to kind of spread the message and the value proposition. You can't do that in this market.
Sure.
Machine shops don't talk to each other much. And it's actually hard sometimes to get testimonials because machine shops don't want to give away their secrets, right?
That's exactly. Another thing. I've been trying to adjust industry philosophy, and these people want to keep their secrets, and why?
Yeah. And so we've challenged some people on that, and Abby's made a lot of breakthroughs, I think, with like I think about a pretty big company that's a customer of ours, and we had a magazine approach us. Hey, can you give us a good customer example of this kind of particular application? I was like, oh man, this company would be awesome, but I don't think they'll ever do it. Abby reached out to it, and he said, I'll see what I can do. And sure enough, he got it done.
Wow.
And I think a lot of that has to do with the relationships that Abby has built with a focus on trust and getting our customers to understand that, hey man, we've helped you. We could really use your help to promote us.
I experience that all the time with my consulting side of my business. I work with companies on company culture and employee engagement, and not one machine shop that I've worked with wants to provide a testimonial to say we had a bad culture and now we fixed it, right? Because that's giving away now secret sauce on how they're able to get their, more employees through the door. Abby, maybe you and I can have an offline chat about how I could approach that a different way, because I don't know. I'm obviously doing something wrong. So maybe you can help me.
Yeah, I think there's opportunity there, and there's opportunity for the machine shops that I think are still in that mindset. And keep in mind that in general, the industry is very conservative. I don't mean politically. I mean, and how they run their business, and how they don't embrace change as much as a lot of other industries do. And a lot of that has to do with the investments that they make in capital equipment purchases, and that they're making these big investments that they have to hold on to for, typically not less than 10 years to get a good return on that investment.
Absolutely.
So I think that some of the culture derives from that, and I do think though there is value in helping people change that culture, not applying that same level of conservatism to all aspects of their business.
Yeah. So how do you balance that drive for technological advancement while helping your customers maintain that strong, healthy company culture?
Well, so one thing that is always a challenge with ambitious engineers is, and we are a group of ambitious engineers, is to not do too many things too quickly.
Sure.
The right wrist has the throttle, but there's also the front brake there too. You got to have a good balance between acceleration and keeping everything under control. So, we do have a moderate amount of structure in our organization about how we introduce new technology to companies, so that we don't make things worse. We make things better. That doesn't mean we don't always get it 100% right. But again, going back to the customer service oriented culture, we do everything we can to make it right.
Yeah.
And our product supports that. It's easy to update. It's easy to access remotely.
So, although the last 20 years of my career have been largely mechanically engineering focused, my background's in computer science. So every one of our products connects to the internet, and we can have the end user enable us access to the product to provide support and training and software updates.
That's great.
So that is a key part of scaling our business and helping customers understand that we are a good alternative to a local custom system integrator that might be just down the road, but we don't have to even drive down the road. We can literally, you're having a problem, give me a minute here. Okay, I'm logged into your system. I see what's going on.
Yeah.
And so we're innovative in that regard in our ability to help support customers.
Awesome.
No one's left without their machines running for days and days.
Yeah.
So you two play off of each other very well, and this was part of the reason, Abby, that I insisted that you be part of this. You two function at a very high level together. So I'm curious, and I'm sure the people who are listening are curious as well, to know a little bit more about the father-daughter dynamic there. How has it impacted professional, personal relationships, all of the above?
Well, honestly, I was not. Both my brothers worked at VersaBuilt at one point or another, and I was always like, no, I'm not going to do that. But my dad and I have a really great relationship. As a cyclist, he traveled with me across the country and the world.
The world, yeah.
And we like really similar things: motorcycle riding, bike riding, grabbing a beer. Eventually it was like it just made sense.
Sure.
And we go out to lunch, I don't know, 3 times a week and just have like these great conversations where we're not just talking about the business, we're talking about life, but how we can incorporate the two and make both better.
Yeah, nepotism is always, something to be careful about, especially with respect to other people, in the organization. And, perceptions around how people are treated and things like that. So it's something that we are very aware of. But I think one of the things, if you came to VersaBuilt and kind of just sat as a fly on the wall, you'd quickly learn that, although there is definitely respect amongst us all, deep down, we're all really good friends too.
That's cool.
And you got to be careful about that because
Sure.
It can also create opportunities for people to take advantages of situations. But we have, really open communication. Everyone is empowered to do not just their job, but help around them. That's also one of the great things about being a smaller organization. And then the other thing I would just say about me and my kids, and I feel incredibly lucky. We work really well together, and they're some of my best friends.
That's awesome.
We really have a good time together. We do a lot of stuff together. We hang out together. We enjoy a lot of the same activities together. And it's funny, they don't all have the same hobbies, but we all share some hobbies together, I would say. Traveling is one of them, but cycling or motorcycling or high performance cars.
AI.
Yeah, AI is becoming and we all like tech too, right? So
that's awesome. And the photo you guys sent me of you two together is maybe one of my favorite photos that has been provided to me for marketing purposes. So I can't wait for people to see that as part of the marketing collateral.
And that was
just about a year ago.
Right before the Idaho City 100, my first motorcycle race.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And that was a fun day. Unfortunately, her bike broke early.
Yeah.
Oh no.
But we had a great time. Yeah.
So Abby, let's talk about bicycle racing, right? So I've never met virtually on the phone or in person a professional bicycle racer. I mean, and I have two perceptions of what bicycle racing is A, Tour de France, B, that track at the Olympics where I get nauseous just watching them go around in circles like that. So what kind of racing did you do?
Doing it. All of the above. I started as a mountain bike rider, racer, and then got more and more into the road scene.
Okay.
And I got into the development programs through USA Cycling, and then went to Europe, spent a lot of time in Belgium racing around, and then raced with Team USA 2017 and 2018 across Europe. And then when I went to college, I wanted to kind of dial back the professional bike racer life. And we just started doing, at the time it was called USA Crits, really short courses, about an hour.
Okay.
Really friendly to spectators. And I fell
typically in downtowns of cities.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Fell in love with it.
That's awesome.
So I did that for another few years, and after I graduated, I decided it was time to have a real life job and get a house, settle down. And that's where I'm at now.
So being from the Boise area, traveling throughout Europe, how did you land on Savannah College of Art and Design?
Good question. I definitely never saw myself moving to Georgia.
Yeah.
I was approached for an athletic scholarship and I went for it.
Wow.
It was one of the best decisions I've ever made. I fell in love with Savannah. The school was absolutely amazing. I'd say the biggest takeaway for me is like less about the education, more about the social dynamics, and also the ability to give and get critiqued. I use every single day.
That's a valuable life skill right there.
Yeah.
I mean, if you need some fabric woven, she can do it.
I sure can.
Okay. I like it. So Al, you've had multiple, entrepreneurial journeys here. Some might say serial entrepreneur. Talk to us about how you came up with Recluse Motorsports. Was that born from your love of motorcycles and your connection that it brings you with your kids? And then how did Recluse help shape what VersaBuilt is now?
So I've been a motorcycle nut since I was 8 years old and saw the movie On Any Sunday.
Okay.
I'd moved when I was about 8 years old to a little town at the time called Gilroy, California, out in the country. And it had lots and lots of open spaces, lots of cow trails that we hiked around. And I saw this movie, these guys riding their motorcycles on the cow trails. And I was like, that's what I need. That's what I have to have. And so I became just a dirt biking nut, rode almost every day, throughout the year. And then when I went to college, that got severely curtailed. I did pick up mountain biking, which was, good, kind of an in-betweener, but I really missed motorcycling. So when I graduated, one of the things I decided I wanted to do is go someplace where I could have really ready access to really good dirt bike riding. And so Idaho fit that bill for me. And I sought out a job here in Idaho and really just loved dirt biking here.
That's awesome.
I dirt biked a lot until I started having kids. And then I kind of backed off a bit in those years. Still had a dirt bike, but, I wasn't, riding once or twice a month. I was riding maybe 3 times or 4 times a summer.
Got it.
Then fast forward late 90s, the kids are all out of diapers at this point, kind of moving along and kind of wanted to start to introduce them to dirt bikes, and got myself a newer dirt bike and had sold, we had sold Apex technology, and I was kind of figuring out what to do next. And I bought a new dirt bike and I loved it, but it kept stalling a lot. In the kind of conditions I was riding. It was a 4-stroke, was some of the early 4-stroke high performance motorcycles.
Mm-hmm.
They did that a lot. And I'd heard about this new automatic clutch, and I bought one. It was another company that was making them, and I really liked how it worked, but it kept breaking. And the company was not, I'd call them up, tell them what was going on. Like, well, you put something together wrong, and, take it apart, do this, put it back together. And like, no, I'm not doing something wrong. This part keeps wearing out and it's sending metal all the way through my, brand new motorcycle engine.
Yeah.
And then eventually they stopped returning my calls. And I got on the internet and realized a lot of other people were having those problems and worse problems. And so I was taking this, $1,000, accessory that I'd bought out, realizing, I'm going to have to throw this away. And as I'm taking it out, I thought, well, the reason it's failing is because the way they engineered this, they mounted this thing on the basket. That's too much weight for it. If we could move the weight to the transmission shaft, that would solve that problem. But, then this other problem would be, I kind of worked through it. And then kind of came up with a design in my head that evening and drew it out on paper. And I think I pulled an all-nighter kind of doing research on, okay, if I did this, how would I go about doing it? What would it take? And, could I patent it? What would the market size be? And I decided to go for it, to give it a try. And I gave myself a budget and some engineering. I found some engineering help because I didn't really know how to do any 3D modeling.
Sure.
And got a first prototype made, and it worked. And that was kind of the start of that journey. So that company did really well, but we were largely focused on the, explosive growth that we were having, and just, trying to stay ahead of the growth. And we got to a point where we had done pretty well keeping up with the growth, and we're probably about 10 years in. But one year, got to the bottom line, and I looked at the financial statements, and the net profit we made was less than the revenue that we had got from the scrap aluminum that we sold to recycling.
No.
I realized, we do all this and I make a little bit of money off of the scraps. And I thought, okay, I need to figure out how to, we've done a great job being an engineering company and growing this and doing all these things, but we've got to get good at operations.
Yeah.
And just, stepped down from, running the company and being the lead engineer to focusing on operations, and a lot of focus on lean manufacturing, a lot of focus on measurements. Can't improve if you can't measure, making people individually or teams aware of their measurements, creating a culture around accountability, allowing people to see, because a lot of people have the same jobs. Maybe there's the day shift or the night shift or in sales, people, and like, all right, guys, now that you can all see how you're doing, let's see, who can win. And, and it really became a very competitive environment. We always made sure that we structured it so it was not it could become a negative thing, but it really made a huge difference. And then ultimately we came down to, like, our next major step is that our business is highly, highly seasonal. Our peak demand month was typically more than twice the customer demand of our lowest demand month.
Sure.
We couldn't really be making it up, and lean accounting principles told us not to just overbuild. And there was when we did try and overbuild, we often found that we chose the wrong things to overproduce on, and motorcycles are constantly changing, and demands are always changing. So we determined that our main constraint to more growth and better operational performance was reduced dependence on hiring new operator labor to meet the peak demands for customer demands. And that's what got us started on VersaBuilt. And right from the start, we set out our expectations is, this automation equipment can't have more changeover time than our current CNC processes. And we've gotten all those things down to like 5-10 minutes.
Wow.
Changeover times. And so, and then, like I said, we kind of stumbled through it for the first 6 months. We got about maybe 5 or 10% of our parts automated, mostly focused on a couple part families. And then to get the next batch of parts in, we were going to have to totally redesign the system. And that's when someone came up with this idea, like, why don't we have the robot pick up the vice jaws instead of the part?
Yeah.
And move the jaws around. And it was absolutely revolutionary for us. Once we got that implemented, 6 more months, and we had 500 part numbers automated.
Wow, that's awesome.
as someone that is coming into automation new, like I was listening to one of our customers talk about this. He had asked a local integrator what it would cost to automate a single part family.
Mm-hmm.
He's a job, so loads of different part families. And they gave him a quote for about $250,000 for one part family.
Wow.
And he asked them, all right, so what about for the next part family? And they said $250,000 more. Our system costs about $90,000 installed and about $100 to add new parts.
Yeah. And he told me the other day, he now has 4 systems. He said, I'm not taking on any new jobs that I'm not confident I can automate.
Wow. That's interesting. So how do you guys suggest these job shops, right? High mix shops that don't have a system in place like VersaBuilt. How can they get started? Because I think that's a really daunting part of this is people just don't even know how to get started.
Yeah. So, I first encourage them to give us a call. I definitely will sometimes listen to a customer and say, for what you need to do on that particular machine, you need to go talk to a custom system integrator, because almost always when a customer comes to us, they're coming to us with the one machine in their shop or a small group of machines that are the highest volume, lowest mix, because of all their preconceived notions about automation. Their preconceived notions about automation are that I have to bring in somebody else to integrate that part into the automation, and that it's going to cost a lot. And if I change over the part, it's gonna cost a lot.
Yeah.
And if you truly have a high volume problem, we probably are often not the best solution. And when I say high volume, that means like you're going to be running one part or a small family of parts on one machine, and you got contracts for the next 7 years. You can afford to develop a custom solution around that, and it's probably going to be a better solution for high mix. But what I tell customers is, again, not all factories, but most factories in the United States, you might have 5% of the machines that do high volume, low mix.
Mm-hmm.
And then the rest of the machines are high mix, low volume.
Yeah.
And that's what we're interested in, helping them change their culture around so that they can use automation to make their operations better.
Yeah.
And, one of the first things I want to talk to them about is changing their perceptions about automation. With our equipment, we can teach your people how to integrate the parts that you have with our tools. We'll train your people to use our equipment so that you're not relying on an outside robot system integrator. And we show them that it's really not any harder to integrate a part into a CNC with our automation than it is to just integrate the part into the CNC.
Sure.
And then we show them how you can have 5-minute changeovers of your CNC work holding and your automation work holding. You may have tool change outs for different parts, but if you look at just the CNC work holding side and the automation work holding side, we can do it as fast or faster than any operator tended system out there. So once you kind of break that down, then we talk about, okay, what does the journey look like, and where should you start to bring automation into your factory and start to transform how your factory floor works.
Mm-hmm.
And again, one of the very first things I want to work on is changing the culture around, especially the people that develop the manufacturing processes. That's usually, the person called the machinist in the shop, but different shops call them different things.
Sure.
I tend to call the people that do the CAM and develop the CNC process machinist, and the people that run it operators.
Mm-hmm.
And we want to talk to the management and those people about shifting from manufacturing processes that are focused primarily on CNC efficiency to manufacturing processes that are focused primarily on making the operator more efficient running the equipment that's there.
Yeah.
And that's a big shift. And a lot of people have a hard time with it. And frankly, some people just can't get past that.
Is that sorry to interrupt, but is that the future of culture in manufacturing, do you think?
It absolutely is, especially if we want to compete worldwide. CNC machine in the United States costs about the same as it does anywhere else in the world.
Right.
It's that our labor costs are much higher here.
Yeah.
And they've got a lot higher.
Yeah.
And if you go back to, the early days of CNC machines, like when Haas introduced the VF1 back in, I think it was 88 or something like that, it cost $50,000.
Yep.
What does a VF1 cost today? 50,000,
Yeah.
55,000.
Yeah.
Back then, an operator was making $2.75 an hour, maybe a loaded cost of $3.50 an hour.
Right.
Loaded cost of, hourly rate for an operator now is $18, $20, $22, $24 an hour. Loaded cost might be 30 or more.
Yeah. Average machinist, manual machinist in the US right now is about 29 an hour. CNC operator / machinist, you're looking 24 to 27, depending on where in the country you are.
Yeah. And so there's this perception amongst machinists and management that the CNC is the most valuable thing. It's the most expensive thing on their shop floor.
Yeah.
And what I try and tell people and show them is it's actually probably the least expensive thing on the shop floor.
Absolutely.
So stop trying to optimize the least expensive thing, the thing that's easiest to replace, and get one of like or better performance by just ordering a new machine, and start focusing on making the people that you have to have, even with automation, make them as productive as possible in the type of environment that you're running in, which is typically high mix. And that means developing processes that use robots to do the dull, dangerous, dirty work that no one wants to do.
Mm-hmm.
You're probably going to, if you're deploying high mix automation, you are probably going to end up with processes that, if you watch when the door opens and the robot exchanges the part, is slower than what a fresh person could do one time.
Yeah.
And a lot of people have a hard time with it, but you will end up with a manufacturing facility that has more capacity, creates parts that are more consistent with fewer quality problems, and has much less total operational costs than operator intensive and machine process efficiency centric machine shops.
So Abby, how do you? We talked about how your job is to build that trust with your customer base. How do you go about that in this marketing role, right? To let them know all of that. I mean, that's a huge job when it comes to marketing. How do you go about that?
So right now I am putting a pretty big focus on creating a lot of blog posts and then interacting with forums in this industry. Practical Machines has been a big one for me lately.
Okay.
I see a lot of people talking about like their own, a really robot savvy dude that wants a CNC in his garage and programs a collaborative robot to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I see comments nonstop about how slow the robot is and how like it physically hurts these machinists to watch the robot work that slow. And I like to go in and kind of not advertise our product, but tell them that that's certainly something you can focus on, but I put that pretty far down the list of things to focus on. I say focus on automating parts that use similar tools. So you don't have to go in and change over tools. Focus on parts that can use existing work holding or work holding that swaps over really easily. Focus on time spent integrating and time spent changing over rather than the robot speed. which is the last thing you should really fine tune.
Sure.
Yeah. Especially because, you know, in some parts are a better first fit than others, right?
Sure.
If you have a part with a 1 minute cycle time, the penalty for a slow robot is a lot more painful than it is for a part with a 10-minute cycle time.
Totally makes
But in
sense.
the end, I get back to people. It doesn't really matter. That robot sitting in front of that machine if you're buying an $85,000 system and you keep that system around for let's say 15 years, including all your costs, it's not $1,000 a month.
Mm-hmm.
And how much is a single operator,
Right.
one shift? And that thing's ready to run 3 shifts if needed. And so now I'd say the other thing though, culturally, that we are putting more of an effort on now, and not just with our customers, but especially with our distributors and some of the other influencers like the robot makers, is the traditional approach to robot automation and the structure of robots themselves is not well suited to mixed workflows. I'll use the term mixed workflows.
Okay.
For as a general term across a lot of different things like welding, palletizing, things
Sure.
like that, machine tending. They are, teach pendant is really good at like teach this point, then move here, pick up this thing, then move here, pick up this thing and move here.
Yep.
But it's not really well suited to if you need to do that for 60 different parts where everything needs to be a little bit different, but it's all kind of the same. Now you got 60 different programs.
Got it.
So another key thing for us, it wasn't the first thing we implemented, but right after multi-grip, the next thing we recognized is having a bunch of different programs is not manageable at all. Robot programs, and trying to create something that teach pendant's not going to work. So we created software. Again, my background is as a software engineer.
Right.
That is what's called parametric approach to machine tending or robot processing. And that is, we have one program, we have a dedicated user interface that's targeted, not general purpose to do everything from, deburring to painting to machine tending. It's only for machine tending. And instead of someone have to learn how to program a robot, and every time they want to have a new robot program, open the last one they did, do file, save as, new part number, and having 30 different programs that are kind of alike, but not all the same. We have an interface where when they want to create a new part, they create a new part configuration, and it asks them things about that part. What's the part height, the width, the length, the weight, what's the op1 program, the op2 program. So using software technology also to make that truly a tool that's designed for high mix.
Yeah.
And not just this general purpose thing. A lot of people make really cool science projects that can do big productive things, but I would put our system up with our software and our dedicated CNC robot and CNC work holding technology. And in terms of those, what I think are the most important factors to consider: time and cost it takes to integrate a new part into the system, and then time to change over. We really can't be beat there.
Yeah.
And that's again, not for everybody, but most applications, that's what's most important.
And thanks for walking us through that. You can't see me, but the entire time I was just nodding and taking notes. So that was great information. Thanks, Al. The last question I typically ask guests is to talk about 3 initiatives that you have implemented that has improved culture, or that you're planning on implementing to improve the culture. And so if you guys could share those with us. But it doesn't just have to be internally at VersaBuilt. If you have some that other companies, people who are listening, could implement, potentially using automation, I'd definitely be open to that. What are 3 initiatives that you guys could leave for the listeners?
Well, I'm gonna put the first one in as like building our brand out. I've been doing a lot of research into product-based marketing versus brand-based marketing, and we've been doing product-based marketing for the last 10 years.
Beating our chest about how great our product is.
Right.
Yeah. And like you have just said, it's a great freaking product. Wonderful product. And there's you can go on and on about how capable and how it can improve your business for days, really.
Right.
Until the customer is glossy-eyed.
Yeah. I'm trying to catch them before we even talk to them about our product and prove that we're people to trust. And my way of doing that is finding trusted routes like blogs and forums of this industry and reaching out that way.
Because then when they do need something that you offer, you're going to be the first person they think of, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. And so Abby's focus is just critical for our growth. And I think what she is really doing is telling the world about who we are.
Yeah.
And the culture of who we are and what we do. One of the things that we do every year is the whole team stops for a day. We don't answer the phones. And we don't do anything except get in a room and we talk about, we call it our strategic planning session.
Okay.
And we talk about what we wanted to accomplish in the year before, what we need to accomplish in the next year. And then we talk about who we are and what we do and who we want to be. And do we need to make adjustments to our culture to kind of reach those objectives?
I love it.
And then the other thing that we do is that we have these poster boards up that we keep up and around so that it's not just something that, happened one time in one meeting, some years ago. It's something that we see every day. You walk into the door of VersaBuilt and there's one stairway without a door, but then where most visitors come in, but the door that we all come in has a big poster board that, says who we are, what we do and what we, aspire to be.
I love it.
And so
your mission and vision statements are there.
I would not call them I wouldn't call it a mission statement.
Okay.
I would call it, it's more oriented towards an individual personally connecting with our culture.
I would
more of a vision
to a vision board.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, because
around what, and vision's more around kind of who. I feel
who and how.
Yeah, who and how. Yeah.
Got it. I like it. You got to have that alignment. You got to have people living that culture for the culture to exist, right? And I got to back up to that second, your strategic planning sessions. When you said that you were once a year, you don't answer the phones, et cetera. I really thought you were going to say you guys just go out and ride motorcycles all day. I thought that.
Well, we do something along that line as well. Afterwards.
After the meeting, you go ride motorcycles. Okay, that makes sense.
Axe throwing.
Yeah, this last time we did axe throwing.
That's still on brand. I'm not going to lie. That is completely 100% on brand. I don't know you guys very well, but from what I do know, that's completely on brand.
Yeah.
Well, I would love to come up at some point and throw axes. I'm not a very good rider of motorcycles. I've been on a couple in my life and have scars to prove it. But I would love to come up, check out your facility, throw some acts with you, and just enjoy the Boise life. It sounds like a really neat place to come visit. Do you guys have any parting comments, thoughts for the listeners today?
Well, I think to you, Jim, I want to thank you for inviting us on this podcast. When I heard the terms, culture manufacturing podcast, that really struck a chord with me, just because I learned how important culture was early on in my career, and it has been, I would say, of all the little things I've learned and done over the years, it's really, I think, the most important.
Yeah.
Especially as one of the things I was able to do really successfully when I wanted to was step away from recluse, and it ran without me because I had built the culture.
Yeah, absolutely.
So culture is also a succession plan.
Absolutely. We might even have to do a part 2, guys, because I feel like there's so many things that we haven't. Maybe it's a live or on-site recording of part 2.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that you and any of your listeners are welcome to come here and check out what we do and meet the people.
Yeah.
I'd love to.
There's probably more than 25, less than 30 robots running in this facility.
I'd love to check that out. And as we get into summer here in Phoenix, it would be very nice to come up to Idaho and get out of the heat. My wife would hate me for a little bit, but I'm going to make that happen. And we've had another actual father-daughter duo from Metal Quest in Idaho on the podcast earlier, maybe a month and a half ago, and they invited me. So I'm going to just make an Idaho trip and come see you in Metal Quest all in one trip.
Oh, great.
2 birds, 1 stone.
Absolutely. And Al, you're very welcome. This was wonderful. It was a great conversation. Folks, there you have it. This was it. It's been an amazing ride with this duo, Al and Abby. We've journeyed through their experiences at VersaBuilt. We've explored the nuances of their father-daughter relationship within this business setting. And we've even taken a look at, Al said it, I agree wholeheartedly, what the future of culture and manufacturing is. From their cultural journey at VersaBuilt to their impactful initiatives that will and continue to enhance the company culture, Al and Abby exemplified the transformative power of innovative leadership and strong commitment to fostering a vibrant workplace. As they have brilliantly showed us, it's about more than just manufacturing. It's about building a culture that supports, inspires, and drives forward progress and values that human touch. We hope that their stories have not only entertained you, but also sparked new ideas on how you can cultivate and evolve the culture within your professional spheres. Remember, you can always listen to this episode and more by visiting our website at manufacturingculturepodcast.com. While you're there, dive into the archives of past episodes, some of which feature some of the most influential voices in the manufacturing industry. If you've enjoyed today's episode, I have a very small favor to ask of you. Share this episode with your friends, colleagues, and anyone you know who is passionate about manufacturing or culture, one or the other, or both. Also, please take a moment to rate and review our show on whatever podcast platform you're listening to. It really helps the show. It sends it up the charts. It's not for me. It's not because it makes me feel good. It's because the more people who rate and review the show, the more people see it when they're searching for new shows. And your feedback helps me continually grow and improve the show to reach more listeners and bring more valuable content. So remember, every day is a great day to make something new, to push boundaries, to innovate, and to shape the future. Have a great day and keep making things.